Mandy,
Katie.
I found you. Find your people, and we found each other. Look, we have been world travelers, and we will be world travelers, especially you, ma'am, here lately. And I am glad that we are back this week. This is our Thanksgiving episode.
Whoop,
And one
whoop.
of the biggest things I'm thankful for this year is you, my friend.
Amen. Back at you.
This is so much fun, and I have just loved every minute. I can't believe we're 15 episodes in.
Girl, we're doing it.
1-5. Tell
Crazy.
you. It's so fun. We're so fun.
We are. We are very fun.
So, Mandy, I want to hear all about your travels. I've kind of peripherally watched, and then I was like, don't ask her questions because then we'll talk about it on the podcast. But I'm so excited to hear how everything went.
I remember when I used to watch Kelly and Regis a lot, and they would
Yeah.
always talk about the fact they didn't talk off camera. They saved it all. So listen, we're just Kelly and Regis.
Look,
Um,
who's Regis in this situation?
me.
I don't know. Look, one of my very good friends here at Candler, who I just adore and adore even more, said the other day, he's a Hindu priest. He said the other day, what do you mean you were born in 1977, Katie? I thought you were 37 at most.
God bless him.
And I said, you just knocked a decade off, buddy. You're now my favorite.
Amen. Amen. Well, when last I left y'all in the closet in Nashville,
Truth.
I was getting ready to go to the Ryman
Yep.
to see Lucas Nelson. Highly recommend. It was such a great show. My friend Elizabeth and I went to City House, which is one of our favorite places. Although I will say it solidified the fact that I don't like fall food. I
Really?
mean, I like it
Oh,
fine, but it's not like
those
summer
orange
food.
things.
Like
Mhm.
Elizabeth and I go in the summer and spring, and the summer is when we've previously been to City House, and we could order the whole menu. Like we really have
Mm.
to control ourselves.
Uh-huh.
And this time we were really struggling to figure out what we wanted other than the soup that was Elizabeth said to the waitress, I feel like it's like the all you can eat soup at Olive Garden, which, it did have those flavor profiles.
Sure,
It
they love being compared to Olive Garden.
it was excellent. They actually thought it was funny. Thank goodness. It was
Yeah,
very good. Highly recommend City House if you're ever in Nashville. And then we scheduled all of our Ubers
love it.
because it was the same night as CMAs.
Yep.
And got there fine, left at 10 during like the last song, scooted out, got home. It was great. So that was super fun. And
And
it was a great show.
he's fabulous. We've talked about it before. You had seen him before.
I had not seen him
Oh,
live.
isn't he
No.
great?
Yeah, he
And if
really
you
is.
close your eyes, I swear to you, he sounds just like his daddy. And
Right.
it's so fun. Yep,
His
it's a lot
band
of
was
fun.
fun. Like his
Yep.
bass player was fun. I always like a good bass player.
Yep.
Um, which brings me to a story from Macon, one of my law school classmates who I saw on Friday night at my 20-year law school reunion.
Love it.
He told me, I can't remember, we were talking about somebody's kid who had just taught themselves to play cello. And I was like, I always wanted to play the bass. And my friend Wesley Person said, I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
And this is why I love Wesley Person. But yeah, so then I left Nashville, I headed to Macon for my law school reunion. It was so fun. We started with a reception at the law school. And for those of you that don't know, the law school at Mercer is basically one long hall, and
Mm-hmm.
all the classrooms are off that one hall.
Yeah.
And then there's a lounge at one end. And so, it's just sort of the gathering place
Yeah.
automatically of everybody. And typically for your first 2 years, not definitely your first year, but then on to some classes in your second year, the whole class would just be split up into two classes. And so like for contracts or criminal law or
Right.
like the basic stuff, our entire class would be there at the same time. We would just be in 2 different classrooms. And that was the case on 9/11 when we had an 8 o'clock class that got out at like 8:55 or 9. I can't remember. And so we all ended up in that lounge watching everything go down. And that's where that reception was. And it's wild, really, how much all of us are just like, oh God, that takes us back. Yeah. And I don't know if that's why we're so close. We were always close. Like, you hear horror stories about your first year of law school and how competitive it is.
Yeah.
That was never the case with us. And then 9/11 happened at the very beginning of our second year. So I don't, so we were already close. So I think maybe that just solidified it, but we really are just extremely close. It's my friend Barrett that I saw in Chattanooga the weekend before. He was saying, he said something about it, like, it doesn't matter to me if you were in my class, like, I'm going to help you. Like, if you move here and you were in my class, like it's it, that's done. We're a team. So it was just really great to see all of those folks. And then we had a dinner Friday night at the Piedmont Brewery.
Don't you love that place?
So fun. It was great. Had a great time. And then I met up with my sorority sisters. About 6, I think, of my pledge sisters were in town, and they had gone to dinner, and then they were at the Society Garden.
Love it.
So I hopped in an Uber and went over to Ingleside to Society Garden, and there was really nobody there but us. And so I ordered one drink there, and then they're like, well, let's go back downtown. So we ended up back downtown at Hummingbird, which allows smoking inside.
Yep, they sure do, which is very different.
I woke up, I went to bed thinking I really should wash my hair. Because I felt like I had been to Daryl's.
Look, legendary making spot. I
Club
went to Daryl's,
baby.
Even though I did not matriculate making in college, I definitely went to Club D.
And you could take your clothes off when you got home, and they would stand up
on
their
stand
feet.
up.
It was awful. It was awful. That's what I smelled like. That's what I smelled like when I got into bed on Friday night. I may have also done a shot. Tabitha may have bought us shots. And I was like, I'm sorry, we're almost 50 years old. What are we doing?
Look, I used to do shots when I traveled for Geico. Before major tow shows, we would all take a shot together. So I have done them recently, but like not often.
Well, and then what's even better is like my memory when I drink is 0 and it goes backwards. So I didn't even remember we had done a shot until somebody posted a picture of it like on Sunday. And I was like, oh, I forgot we did a shot. Anyway.
Okay. So goal in life now is for us to do one together and then forget.
Oh boy.
Well, we'll forget it properly. So it's fine.
There you go. It won't matter, will it?
No.
Does it even count?
When we go to hot springs.
So anyway, so then Saturday, woke up, the weather was abysmal. It was cold and rainy in Macon, Georgia.
Nasty.
Who knew? But we went to the tailgate, which is just crazy that all exists.
I know.
I mean, nuts. We played Stanford, by the way.
Oh, so for those that don't know, Mercer didn't have football for almost like 100 years or something crazy like that. Like they quit like before World War II, maybe.
Before World War I think.
I think so, like a long, long time, and had great basketball. Stanford always played Mercer in basketball and soccer and all kinds of other things, but never had football. And this is like in the last
10 years.
10 years, they have added football back, and they've done really well. And it's been well received in the community, and it is really weird.
It's wild. It really is wild. Super fun.
Yeah, so different though.
But yeah, so we ended up, they've got an area now where they set up all the tents. Everybody has their tent. Yeah. It was the 150th anniversary of the KA chapter being established at Mercer. So they were having a big
some of my exes were probably there.
So it was super fun to see
about that later.
So that was super fun to see all those guys. the law school catered our tailgate with Bears Den.
Stop it. The best.
Always a win.
Love it.
And then it's funny. So it had quit raining, and then right as the game started, it started raining again. And my friend Shauna, who works at Mercer, had been busting her hump working, but she and I were going to watch the game together, sit together and watch the game so we could at least catch up. And so she came to the law school tent about the time it started raining, and we're like, we're just going to sit here for a little bit. And then it kept raining, and I said, they've got bourbon at the KA tent. So we decided to go over to the KA tent.
Why would you not?
Hang out there for a while. And then we ended up going in the field house and watching the end of the game, the second half up there. So that was really fun. And then got up Sunday morning, was going to try to go to lunch at the aforementioned H&H, or actually brunch.
Yep.
But the line was too long, and I had a long drive home. So I just bailed. But
I will say that there was a picture on Facebook. You saw my favorite human.
Who's that? Bill!
I have known since I was a small child. Bill Stembridge is my favorite human being. He dated my cousin Molly Martin.
He's from Moultrie.
Yeah.
You could know Bill for more than 5 minutes and not
know he was from Moultrie. So Molly dated Bill long, in the 80s, long time
Molly
ago.
that used to take you to the Indian Mounds?
Yes, same Molly. Dated Bill Stembridge, oddest couple, but sweetest couple. Every time I see him reminds me of that. I'm like, I know, Bill, I've known you since I was 8. I get it. And then
you told me that story every time
I see you. And then, worked for Saxy, who Bill did too. And so we reconnected there and have been just good friends ever since. And then he goes to Mulberry. So I took his offering, and every time I was the usher and took his offering, he would look at me and say, don't cash this till next week. Like, Bill, you got so much money, you don't need to worry about it. They've got buildings named after you at Mercer now. So don't talk to me about cashing your check. But he thought he was hilarious.
Oh, I love him.
And then there pops up your little picture with him. And I was like, those are my 2 favorite people in the same place. And I was
I was standing in line to get food in the field house, and Shauna just pointed, and I was like,
I know. Last time I was at the Berry, he, looks around, has Bill gotta
scan the crowd.
And he saw me and he went, and he just pointed at me, and I was like, yeah, it's me. I'm here. And I got a big old hug, and he was just so excited to see me, and I just love him.
Yeah, that was one of my more popular pictures on the social medias of everybody who loves Bill.
Sweet, sweet man.
He's the best. But so tell us what's been going on with you.
So, while you were outside in the rain and the wind and the cold and Macon, I was up here inside watching football. So Auburn is bowl eligible. First of all, hallelujah, praise the Lord. What the heck happened?
That was quite the game.
We have turned things around, and I'm so excited. But let's face it, Mississippi State is not a tough team to play. Neither was Arkansas. So we got an easy kind of end of our schedule. But speaking of Mississippi State, the axe is starting to fall, y'all. It's that time of the season.
First
Jumbo, and now Mississippi State. I'm taking bets with people of who's next.
Can't wait to listen to the Big Boo cast this week. Both their teams lost their
both of them.
Yep.
Look, I thought the Gus Malzahn $20 million payout was, first of all, well worth it. Well worth it. I was not on the Gus bus. I had pulled the chain to get off the Gus bus years before Gus Malzahn got the axe. But $75 million to get Jimbo gone is a pretty penny.
Lot of money.
And I'll be real interested to see who steps up and takes that job on.
I know.
It's a lot. It's a lot. The other thing that really stood out, and you sent me something today about it, game day was in Athens. Pat McAfee said 2 things I thought were real interesting. Pat McAfee said first of all, that he was probably not coming back to game day next year, that it was not apparently his crowd, that there had been so many complaints about Pat that he would not be back. But I don't know. We'll see. It could have been feigning like, oh, you don't love me. So everybody would be like, oh, we love you, Pat. Come back, come back. I don't think that's it, though. The second thing he said, that just in passing, as part of his bigger story about Athens, was, everybody was saying, you took David Pollock's spot, you little so-and-so, and he was getting cussed out, which I've gotten cussed out by many a Georgia fan, old lady Georgia fan. So I feel you, Pat, on that one. I feel you. They're the worst. He was like, I'm not the reason that David Pollock got fired. Just saying.
He said that on game day?
He did, which I think is real interesting, that he would be like, there's more to that story. I mean, he didn't say anything. He's like, I love David Pollock just like everybody else, but I'm not the reason.
I think that's interesting. He talked about it at all.
He did. Well, I think he got cussed out too much. And then you sent me
the
article today. I didn't realize that chant that he did the whole time on game day was really about the Red Coat Marching Band, because I've only heard the drunk Georgia fan version of it. So the Redcoats can get all up in their feelings about it.
Listen,
but the whole crowd knew that version. So I'm just saying, maybe it's not really about y'all anymore. Sorry.
Listen, these musicians, they can get all up in their feels.
They were a little butthurt about it.
Butthurt is the theme of the day.
I know, right? Woo.
By the way, it makes me think of our boyfriend, Travis Kelce. And can I just say, this isn't on our agenda, y'all, going off. But my gosh, how delightful.
I love
it's the entire situation, including the fact that every woman that I know, whether they are a Travis Kelce fan or a Taylor Swift fan or a fan of neither, are just loving this romance.
Well, I think, and I'm editing myself in my head because there's some things I don't talk about on here, but I think having someone, we see her have someone that is more of an equal in his field that she is in her field, and someone that is just thrilled to death to be with her and doesn't want to put on a hoodie and hide.
Right.
That's kind of what we all want, guys. Let me just throw that out there. We want somebody who is not going to make us be submissive to them. Paul, thank you for that.
Best of luck with that one.
Thanks, letter to Paul. Corinthians. And then the other thing, look, I struggle with Paul.
You finish one thing and then I have to remind me I have to say something. Keep going.
I struggle with Paul. That's another topic for another podcast. Probably we could do it here too, though. Or that we want somebody that's going to be excited to be with us and to help us in our endeavors, and we can help in theirs. Is that too much to ask for a partnership and not a dictatorship?
Apparently
it's too much to ask. So when we see it, we love it. And I really think that we're loving this.
So my quote of the weekend in Macon, somebody asked about one of our former classmates, and I said, well, she's on Facebook. She's become really Jesus forward.
Oh. Right.
I'm sorry, it made me laugh. I don't know where it came from. She's real Jesus forward.
Jesus forward. And people, okay.
I don't.
The biggest compliment that no,
she talks about Jesus a lot.
And look, the biggest compliment I've gotten as a minister is that she's exactly the same as she was before she went to Candler. I do talk about Jesus more on the internet just because
it's your job.
It's my job now, and it's a good marketing tool. But like,
I don't even think of you as being Jesus forward.
I'm not Jesus forward. Jesus
That's
knows
probably
that.
Jesus
And
forward.
I think he uses that about me to say that anybody, you don't have to be extra special to do
Yeah.
anything. I can use literally anyone. I can use her. And if I could use her, you know, yeah.
Jesus
So,
forward. Y'all
yeah.
write it down. Y'all
Yep.
write it.
Yeah. Doing it.
Anyway,
I love
sorry.
it. Okay, so I'm gonna move us into our Thanksgiving section. And look, my part is gonna be very small because I was never
There are
allowed
no
to.
small, there are no, what is it? There are no small.
Right. No small parts. Um, I was never, I was the clean, I cleaned everything and I served everything. I did not cook anything, which is fine. I did grate a bunch of cheese, but that's another story that I'm gonna save for another day when we talk about food to give away. Um, and this year I am not cooking either, but that's another story in a minute as well. But Gogi, and I've said this, never ever served the same thing twice, the same meal in a row. We had the same thing every Christmas and the same thing every Thanksgiving, but we had turkey at Christmas. So we were not having it a month before.
Right.
So she made what we call Gogi's chicken squares. And it was like a giant chicken casserole that she cut into squares and put on her little turkey platter, which is ironic that it was chicken on a turkey platter, but whatever, we didn't question it.
Poultry.
And in the gravy boat, she put the sauce that went with it, which is not gravy, it is a sauce. And again, didn't question it. But I have typed out that recipe and it will be in the show notes. I loved it.
It looks delicious.
It is so good. I did put exactly how it is in our family cookbook. So there's some things that I'm like, what? Like soft breadcrumbs, I think just means like you pull apart bread and you don't use like dried breadcrumbs,
Gotcha.
is what I think.
But
And
does the consistency, because it's got rice and
mhm,
bread. So does it, and I guess if you cut it into squares,
it's like a dressing.
okay, that's what I was, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a giant pan of dressing, but it has chicken in it. And then the notes, I don't know if this is a Kathy Griffiths thing or a Gloria Wynn thing, but spoon mixture into a buttered 13x9 Pyrex. It can only be a Pyrex, apparently.
Let's say, listen,
It can't
y'all.
be anything else. And then she used a knife to check it to see if it came out clean. Anyway, it just cracks me up. The reading through the recipe again made me happy.
Good.
Again, I never watched this being made because it was always done like Gogi was a night owl, so it was done like at 2 a.m. And it was in the oven when we got there. But I think I'm gonna do it, and I might go rogue and try rotisserie chicken.
I think that would be fine.
I think it'd be fine, but 6 cups of it, I'm gonna need like 3, right? 2, maybe 2.
But you could do two.
2. So I'm gonna do it when I get back. It's not on the Katie diet, but I'm gonna do it because I love it. Anyway, we knew Gogi probably should not be cooking Thanksgiving anymore when there were chicken bones in it.
Uh-oh.
Yep. And we were choking on the chicken bones at Thanksgiving. So I think she used a whole chicken as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way one chicken will do 6 cups of meat. So she
Uh-huh.
had to do 2.
Yeah.
This is one of those reminders, friends, that when your people are still alive, you need to sit with them or you need to insist on watching them. I feel the same way about my grandmother on my dad's side on Thelma's caramel icing.
Oh, listen.
She made the best caramel cake on this planet. And I never watched her make the caramel, and I could kick myself for it. She also hand quilted, and I could kick myself. I know how to do it, and I can do it, and it's very time consuming, But the fact that I did not sit with her and watch her do that and learn from her, I mean, I'm going to cry right now. I just could kick myself for not taking the time to do that. So I think this is a good opportunity and remind our friends that you find your people and you sit with them and learn from them and really know what these things are that we are passing down to our people, and that we want to pass down to our people. So this is one of those things that I love. I definitely, I'm going to make it. That's my resolve is that I'm going to make it when I get back from my trip. So the one other thing that I have through Mama made these every year. They're so good. If you like sweet potato casserole, her sweet potato casserole is the best because it takes a lot of time, but it's worth it. And it doesn't matter what recipe you use for sweet potatoes. And Mandee doesn't do anything orange, so she won't give you this tip. So here it is. Whatever sweet potato recipe you use, when you cook the sweet potatoes and then put them in your KitchenAid mixer to whip them up with whatever junk you put in there with them, you need to clean the paddles several times in that process. Beat the heck out of them. So whip them, multiple.
Whip them good.
Whip it good. So pull those beaters out, whether you use a hand mixer or your KitchenAid, wipe them off, because the strings of the sweet potato, what makes it stringy, will attach to your paddle. And that's what Mom does. And it takes her forever. And when I tell you, she would have the counter lined with sweet potatoes out of the oven. This woman made in bulk sweet potato casserole because it's so good. But that's the key, is to get rid of the strings, is to whip it and then clean your beaters off and clean the strings off and whip it again until there are none on your beaters. And it takes forever, but it's worth it because it's the smoothest sweet potatoes I've ever had in my life. So there we go.
I like
Shout out Kathy Griffiths. That's
way to go, Kathy.
The one she's gonna get today.
If we make sweet potato balls, I'll remember that.
Yeah, whip it and whip it good, and just wipe your beaters off.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So those are my two things. There are some other things that we have as family things that I really am going to save for the episode. We're going to do an episode on food that we give away. And so several of those things are things that were given to us and things that we gave away, and gave away at every occasion. So I'm going to save my couple things for that. But the rest, and I'm going to have lots of questions, I'm sure, Mandee, because again, I don't do this. And so I'm going to learn from the master. We have, she has graciously, and I'm pulling them up now so I can look at them while you talk, graciously made for us a shopping list and a what's this thing called, a schedule. And so we're going to make sure those things are linked where you can see all the things. But I am just in awe of these things. Gloria Wynn, Gogy would be so proud.
Oh,
she would. In fact, I think she's looking right now, just with beaming. She's watching.
She's watching you right now.
She is always.
No, I love what you said about talking to these folks, because that's exactly what I did with Nanny. For those of you who don't know, my Nanny and Pawpaw lived in Fitzgerald. I grew up in Moultrie most of my life, which was an hour away, and so and my mom's an only child. My dad grew up in Bay Minette, Alabama, the oldest of 5. And so my grandma Billy, his mom, would always say, I always understood that your mom was an only child, so y'all were going to spend the holidays with her parents. And that's just what we did every holiday.
Every one of them was with Gogy. Same. Yeah. We always came to her.
And Nanny always, and Mom would help. She would be quick to tell you she was Betty Crocker Homemaker of Tomorrow, her senior year in high school, which we've talked about. Yep. So she would help. But Nanny did it all. Yeah. And it was usually at her house. And so she would have lots of stuff ready when we got there. And probably starting sometime in junior high, my job in life became to mash the potatoes. So that's how it started, is I was the potato masher. And just with that, I would just stay in the kitchen and like pay attention to what she was doing and see what I could do to help.
Speaking of, I need to do potato masher, so going to order one right now.
Listen, and then along the way, so her dressing, I have talked about last week how freaking good it is. But when I tell y'all that when we would get back to Moultrie after Thanksgiving, and all of my sister's friends would come to our house for leftovers because they all wanted Nanny's dressing, I'm not exaggerating. So it became a priority that like we had to figure out how to make Nanny's dressing. And when my sister went to college, you know, she swam, she was a swimmer. And so they didn't get to come home for Thanksgiving. So her first Thanksgiving, Nanny made everything in Fitzgerald, put it in the camper, and we all drove to Nashville and had Thanksgiving in the camper.
I love it.
Now, there were a couple of times where we would go out to a restaurant. We've done that. I can count probably on one hand.
Yeah, we did that when I was very little, when my Milledgeville, all those crazy aunts and uncles that never married were still alive. They took us to the country club when I was very little, but that was like once.
Yeah.
Maybe twice. And, you know.
So,
yeah.
So it was all about, you know, nanny. And as she started getting older, I started sort of doing more and more until, I mean, probably for the past 12, 15 years, I've basically done it all. In fact, I had a time hop today. I think it was 11 years ago today. I posted on Facebook that she had called and asked if she needed to buy a turkey.
Oh, yeah.
And she was hosting Thanksgiving. So, yeah, I believe you do.
Yep. Same thing with the chicken bones. It's like, oh.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. And I will tell you, there was one Thanksgiving after I'd moved here, is when my friend Sarah and I had our little bakery business. And we did, the whole reason we launched it was to do desserts for Thanksgiving. So really slammed.
Which I would have bought one of each.
They're so good. But got all that done. And I think maybe I like made my last delivery Wednesday at like noon. Got in the car to drive to Fitzgerald, stopped in Tifton at Publix to get all the groceries before getting to Fitzgerald. So anyway, it's just what we do. And I might bitch about it, but I love it and I'm happy to do it. And people will say, well, let's go out. And I'm like, no, I'm going to cook. I'm going to cook.
And I'm kind of the same way. I love to complain and moan about, you know, leaning over the dining room table, trying to clean the chandelier with my short little arms. But, you know, Gogy asked me to do it and in a heartbeat.
Right.
Whatever she asked. I hate to clean. I don't clean my own daggum house most of the time very well. I hate to clean. But if she called me and said, do it, I said, yes, ma'am. And by golly, if she wrapped a dish rag around a mop and told me to go mop the floors with it instead of just getting a Swiffer, I was doing it.
That's right.
Whatever she asked, I would do. So I got the cleaning business and the standing in the coat closet and taking people's coats at holiday parties job. And I did it because that's what I was told to do. So I get it.
Yeah. So it's nice. I am very thankful that's how all of this came about. And we talk about Nanny constantly on Thanksgiving. So
let me tell you, I have this vision of her cutting that onion.
I know, right?
In her hand.
And by the way, if you
I'm not brave enough to do that.
If you wonder what she looks like, just picture me. Because I
love that.
Just like her. It's crazy.
I love it.
So all of that to say, here we go. As Katie
Where are
said,
we starting? With the shopping list or with the
Well, I don't think we have to go by the shopping list is what it is.
It is. Okay.
It is made for the menu that is contemplated in that shopping list is turkey and dressing and Brussels sprouts and pumpkin bread pudding
Which
I don't think
I'm
that one has
dying to make.
so yeah, y'all got to make that pumpkin bread pudding.
And the Brussels sprouts.
And the Brussels sprouts are easy and good. So I mean, it just sort of is what it is. That's just something y'all can use to sort of go off of, give you an idea of what it looks like. We can look at the menu and the schedule.
All right. I got that pulled up, ready to go.
I'm opening it now. So this is for a dry brined turkey, which I haven't heard for a lot of years. All the rage was to do a brined turkey, like a brine. Haven't seen as much about that this year, but I am not a fan. I am a fan of the dry brined turkey, which we'll talk about. And the dressing, Brussels sprouts with pancetta. The grocery list does not include the ingredients for the strawberry pretzel salad because my mom makes that.
That's not your job.
And then the pumpkin bread pudding. So, and I'm going to do at least one or two other things I haven't decided on yet, but this is sort of what I know we'll have. And so we usually eat in, the early afternoon. So this schedule sort of is aiming towards that as your goal. You can start right now baking your cornbread and freezing it. If you're going to make any pie, you can go ahead and make your pie crust and freeze it. You can do that at any point this week and be fine. As early as Monday is when you can start working on your dry brined turkey. And we've linked a recipe for a dry brined turkey. Basically, all you're doing with the dry brined turkey is going ahead and pulling it out of the packaging, getting the neck out, which if you have a teenage boy in your life, I recommend pulling the neck out with them around.
Yeah.
Because they will laugh and think it is funny. Because, is there anything more phallic than a turkey neck? No.
Nope.
So you pull it out, you get it all set up in the roasting pan, and then you cover it with salt, basically. And I usually do like a citrus salt. And you put that all over the skin of the turkey and let it sit for up to 3 days. I usually don't get to where I'm cooking in time to do it for 3 days. So I can't remember if I may have done it for 3 days before. I can't remember, but so the recipe provides that you can start as early as 3 days, but even if it's just, overnight, it's great.
Love it.
So you can go ahead.
I'm looking at it now. It looks delicious.
It really is. It's good. And Nanny would always, I don't think I put this anywhere. Nanny would always sprinkle the turkey with some baking soda, which if you follow any of the Serious Eats recipes, they've got a guy, Kenji Lopez Alt, I think is his name, who's sort of a scientist. And anytime he's doing anything that wants a crispy skin, he puts baking soda on it. So I guess that's why she did it. So she didn't really know.
Have you ever heard, this may be sacrilegious and a conversation we want to have on another episode, but have you ever put a little bit of baking soda in your sweet tea?
No.
It's a thing, and we'll discuss.
Okay.
I don't normally make sweet tea anymore.
I don't either, yeah.
But some people put a pinch of baking soda in there.
Who knew?
I know, right?
Anyway, you can do that too, like once with the brine and the. I will say one year, I think maybe that year that I just got to Fitzgerald on Wednesday night, and I tried to do the dry brine. If you only don't do it one night ahead, because then you're just gonna have a really salty.
You
gotta have enough time to sort of absorb that salt. So typically I'll do that on Tuesday.
So when you say citrus, like the one I'm looking at on Epicurious that you linked has fennel and chili and maple. I don't know how. I guess maple brown sugar maybe. So do you do just salt, or do you put salt and like a dehydrated orange or orange zest?
Yeah. I just
orange zest and salt
it into and I'll do orange and lemon with the salt, and then just spread it all over.
So I wonder if I could do that with just a turkey breast.
1,000%. Because I also usually have to cook a turkey breast in addition to the turkey because we like leftovers and we never have enough leftover turkey. But yeah, I've done it with that.
And it's
And
just,
COVID, the year of COVID,
it's just me.
yeah, that's what the year of COVID,
Yep.
it was just me. And that's exactly what I did. I did a turkey breast just like that in a little iron skillet of dressing.
Okay.
You can totally do it.
Done.
And then also in my turkey cavity, I'll just put onions and citrus, lemons and oranges, and then whatever herbs you can buy. Typically, sage will start selling out, fresh sage. So if you're going to the grocery store late this week, I would go ahead and get your sage now. Okay. They typically will also sell like a poultry blend, and that's great. Just get a couple of those, stuff those in the cavity, put some pepper in there as well, and then just let that puppy sit in the fridge. You can also on Tuesday go ahead and make your pumpkin bread for your pumpkin bread pudding. And really and truly, if you're doing any sort of casseroles, like if you're doing a broccoli casserole or squash casserole, even your dressing, you can go ahead and get those made already and pop them in the fridge and just let them sit. So if you want to if you do a little bit all along next week, then it won't feel so overwhelming on Thursday morning.
Here's something else you can do. I just thought about this because this makes my heart happy. Is maybe make an extra loaf of the pumpkin bread and eat it for breakfast. Just toast it with a little butter or put some cream cheese on there. And when you heat it up, I love a pumpkin bread with a little cream cheese on it for breakfast.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can make it, it's a good hostess gift. So you can make an extra loaf, even freeze it if you needed it for later. You know, we're going to talk about things to give away, but there's a perfect thing that you can make extra of to pop in the freezer to give away later or to eat.
And just go ahead and do it while you're making one. Might as well make two.
Might as well make two.
Yep. Then on Wednesday, I will typically go ahead and start working on the dressing with the butter and the onions and the celery. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, go ahead. You're going to need that one more stalk of celery.
Yes.
Every year it never fails. I'm like, oh, I think I'm good. And then my sister will be like, nope, you need one more. So go on. You need that one more stalk of celery. Go on and chop it up while you're chopping.
Love it.
But you can get your dressing all assembled. You can make the creme anglaise for the pumpkin bread pudding. And you can make the pudding part of the pumpkin bread pudding. You can go ahead and make both of those. You can actually go ahead and make your gravy ahead of time if you want. I don't have a recipe for gravy because I just kind of wing it.
Well, and don't forget, I linked last time. So in the show notes for last week, I linked the gravy separator. So I hope you've ordered that from Amazon because it will come in time if you still want to order it and to do the gravy.
Do it, y'all. It's so worth it. It makes your life so much easier. The other thing I will do is I make a sage compound butter. So you just soften a stick of butter and then chop up some sage. And I'll usually put some citrus zest in that too. And then you take that, what you're going to do on Thursday morning, as soon as you get up Thursday morning, pull that turkey out of the fridge and let it sit on the counter for a little bit because you want it to come to room temperature as much as you can.
And then slather
that puppy with that compound sage butter. And then, I'm sorry, if you're poultry averse, close your ears. Lift that skin up and slather it under the skin too.
So I'm going to do that I think when I get back, I'm going to do Gogies just cause, and when I'm done eating that, cause it's going to take me like 3 weeks because it's huge. I may see if I can half it, but anyway, when I'm done with that, I think I'm going to do this turkey breast and I'm going to make that compound butter. Now I will also say a compound butter is not hard to make. and they are delicious. And so I highly recommend that you add compound butters to your repertoire, and you can do savory and sweet. A
Yep.
cinnamon compound butter on some pumpkin bread, on toast, on an English muffin.
Yep.
It's like Texas Roadhouse butter.
Mm-hmm.
It just, you can keep it in the freezer, you can keep it in the fridge, and use real butter.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Don't use margarine. It's the only thing I adamantly, sorry, Gogy, I'm looking at her portrait. Sorry. It's the only thing I completely disagree with her about.
Well, that gets back to that whole Cool Whip discussion. Because
Yes.
margarine was one of those newfound
Yes.
things that they thought was all
Yep.
the rage.
And they
were
thought it was
wrong.
healthier. It is not healthier. Real
Butter.
natural ingredients are always going to be healthier than plastic.
Amen.
So anyway, I love a compound butter. So a sage compound butter, I'm going to say it's right up my alley. So it's just,
okay.
you just do sage and butter. Do you use salted butter for your savory compound butters?
No, because you brine that turkey.
And okay. And I typically don't use salted butter. I like to add my own. I don't. So, okay.
If it weren't going on brine turkey, I might, but because it's not brine turkey, you don't want any more salt. The other thing to do first thing before you put the turkey in the oven is to cube your pumpkin bread and toast it.
Which sounds like I could just eat that.
It's really good. And it's good pumpkin bread too.
Yeah. Again, make an extra.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so the way I cook my turkey, it's based on a Giada De Laurentiis recipe from years and years ago. And you start it out at 400. And you cook it for about 20 minutes on 400. And then you cover the breast with foil at that point, and you pour chicken broth into the bottom of the roasting pan. And that just sort of helps it stay moist, and it also makes really good stuff. I'm sorry, I know.
It's the worst word.
It's better than wet. You don't want wet turkey.
No, you don't.
But it gives you
non-dry.
It gives you good stuff to make your to pour in that gravy separator later. And then after, go ahead.
I was going to say the one other tip that I've seen that I've never used, but I think it's a good tip, is to keep some chicken broth. Speaking of chicken broth, heated on the stove. Bobby Flay does that. And that helps, like if you're running late or if something is dry and you want it to be not dry, you have that, it's warm. So it's not, you're not pouring something cold, and it won't be warm like a warm dish, but you'll have that warm chicken broth on the stove for, correcting things and emergency things.
And typically what I have going is the chicken neck, the turkey neck, the phallus, and and I pour some chicken broth over it and throw in some herbs and just have that sort of simmering, and that will end up forming the base of my gravy.
Wow.
But I also, if I need it for this or that, I've got it. But then also that's sort of what I use to start the gravy.
Like it helps if your dressing is dry, you can pour it over that. He just used it for all kinds of things.
Nope, it's a great idea. So after about an hour at 400, then you drop the temp down to 350, and you want to cook it. The Giada recipe.
Do you do the turkey breast the same way? Like, do you start it off at 400 and then drop it to 350?
I probably wouldn't with the breasts.
Just put it directly in there at whatever temp. Okay. I didn't think so, but I just want to check because I'm doing this after. I'm doing it. Just the breast though. I don't want to eat turkey for 5 weeks.
I think the turkey breast recipe I used, Katie, was an Ina recipe.
Okay.
If you want to Google that.
I will. Yep. So let me
use the flavoring of, and oranges. I can't remember if I put that on the recipe or not, but I like an orange flavor in addition. Like everybody always uses lemon, and but I like an orange in it too. I don't know. There's something about that.
Herb roasted turkey breast. There we go.
There you go. So I
Um,
get a flavor profile of this, but I use that technique.
okay.
And I will say this. So like I remember Nanny getting up at the crack of dawn to put the turkey on, and me thinking like, gosh, she got up at 5 a.m. to put the turkey on, and then it still took forever. Your turkey, inevitably, when I have made turkeys, they are ready sooner than I anticipated. So just want to like check it. It's hard too. The other thing is make sure you have lowered the rack as low as it'll go in your oven, because those turkey breasts are going to get done a lot faster than the rest of the turkey. If you can I did a spatchcock turkey one year, and it was great. So if you want to go through the hassle of spatchcocking your turkey, you can do that, or if you can get a butcher to do it for you.
I was about to say, so spatchcock for our non-cooking friends is when you flatten it out. You basically take the backbone out and you flatten it. So everything is kind of at the same level. And so you don't have to worry as much about drying out in certain places because it's all the same level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my family's basically white meat family.
Oh, I'm a dark meat girl.
I have been known to go ahead and pull the turkey out and cut the breast and then stick it back in. I've been known to do that too. But just start checking it. The giada recipe I was looking at last night to refresh my memory said about another hour and a half. The other thing to order right now, if you don't have it, is a meat thermometer, a good meat thermometer. And put it in where I like to put it in is sort of the thicket, like the front of the turkey breast, where it's really thick. You want to put it in there. And don't hit bone, because if you hit bone, that'll throw off your temperature.
It throws it off. Yeah.
But that's sort of where I like to check.
I'm going to add one to my cart now.
Yes.
Because I don't think I
have the Thermopin, which, and those are great, but then I ended up getting a cheaper version off of Amazon, and it's been good too. So
there's a Thermo Pro digital. Do you do digital?
the digital is what I've got.
Okay, so I'm gonna add to my cart. I don't want red because Georgia.
That won't do.
No, we'll do gray.
I actually have an orange one on my refrigerator right now.
Add to cart. This is why I keep things handy so I can order. I'm telling you, I do whatever Mandee tells me to do. I do it. My life is so much better because I've just decided that if she says do it, that's what I do. So I just Googled and linked into the show notes the Ina Garden herb roasted turkey breast recipe, because that's what Mandee said for me to do.
And
so
you're sharing it. You're sharing. It's so kind.
Sharing with the world.
Anyway, so once your turkey gets to like 165, pull it out. Then the challenge is always figuring out how to get it out of the pan into something to rest on without burning the stew out of yourself.
So I got nothing for you. Well, I mean,
I have some of those lifters, but
a teenage boy.
Yeah.
Just let somebody else do it.
Let my nephew burn himself instead of me burning mine. But
I mean,
anyway,
he's a strong boy. Let him
go. And then at that point is when you pour all that good stuff into the gravy separator and let it do its magic. Cover all, like if you're making the dressing, once the gravy separator has done its thing, then you pour some of that good stuff over the dressing before you put it in the oven. And then, at that point, you put all your casseroles in, get those started. You can also then put your roasting pan on 2 eyes of your stove and scrape up all the good bits. And you sort of use that to make your flour. Use some of that broth that you've had on the back eye. Make your flour.
Make your roux with your flour.
Yes.
Or your gravy.
You got it. Thank you. So you can start that process. You can, while the turkey's cooking, you could have gone ahead and like gotten your Brussels sprouts washed and chopped, but then you chop your pancetta, get it browned, get your Brussels sprouts going, and then carve your turkey. If you got any rolls, throw them in there.
Or cheese muffins, which again, the recipe's coming. That whole story's coming.
To be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Open your can of cranberry sauce and put it on a pretty plate.
I got to do that too. I did get to do that.
With the cranberry sauce.
Mm-hmm. Get the knife and anyway, yep. Mm-hmm.
Good job. Yep. And then go ahead and assemble your bread pudding, which just means you've got your toasted bread cubes and your Pyrex. And then for the pudding mixture over that, and then it actually cooks in a water bath, so you just have to make sure you've got a bigger vessel to be able to put the Pyrex in. And then once you sit down to eat, you put the bread pudding in the oven, eat, and then your bread pudding will be ready in about 45 minutes.
Love it.
So eat that and then go lie down because your back has given out.
Yes. My favorite. So this whole schedule and list, everything, my favorite part, the non-informative favorite part of this whole thing is that you say on Wednesday night, eat a pizza.
So yes. And as a matter of fact, get takeout pizza if you want to.
Yeah. But you linked a recipe.
I do love a deep dish pizza, and I linked a recipe for that. And have pizza with your favorite salad. And if you need inspiration on a bagged salad, go check out my buddy Caro Chambers on Instagram that I talked about a couple weeks ago, because she's got a great series right now about how to zhuzh up a bagged salad. But seriously, like that's what you do on Wednesday night is you eat pizza.
You eat pizza. So I love that. So all of this is so informative. Mandy, I really do. I know I say it and I joke. I'm not joking. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like I am inspired to pare this down and make it just for myself. I will probably make those Brussels sprouts at some point because I love Brussels sprouts, but I am craving my grandmother's, which is just the generic broccoli casserole recipe. So I'll probably make that. I love Kathy's squash recipe. I might make a squash casserole. You know what else I love that I saw the other day? I love a pineapple casserole with the cheese and the Ritz crackers. So easy.
We couldn't have that because Bill Caldwell hates pineapple.
Well, Bill Caldwell can.
Bill Caldwell,
my left toe. But I love, it's like dessert. It's like the sweet potato casserole is like dessert. So I mean, I think everything you told us today and all these recipes, the deep dish pizza, my goodness, you can make that whenever. They translate to much more than Thanksgiving, but we just put it all together for this holiday. And I have learned a lot. I have things in my cart for Amazon that I will be purchasing.
And as y'all are like finalizing your menu and trying to figure out, the thing to think about is you're going to have stuff in the oven.
Yes.
So if you're trying to find that one last thing to add, look for a stovetop recipe.
Yes, that is
already full.
Huge to remember that.
One more thing at the very bottom down there was drinks. Now, Naney was a teetotaler, and
well, that's unfortunate.
We would have to go to the Walmart in Fitzgerald and not only buy a bottle of wine, but buy a wine opener because she didn't even have that. So we don't typically do drinks.
Yeah, we didn't either.
But I will tell you,
I needed it, but we didn't.
I bought some dinners. Cheese Gal on Insta.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get my phone out and get on Instagram. And
he's been doing a series of Thanksgiving cocktails that look to die for. And I actually made last night a recipe. Smitten Kitchen in her cookbook that I just got last week has a recipe for apple cider old fashions, and you boil down the apple cider to make like a syrup.
Yes.
So whatever your favorite old fashioned recipe is, instead of the sugar cube, you just boil down this apple cider and then use that instead of the sugar cube.
So-
and she actually has a recipe. It's a batch
Love it.
together, and it keeps for a month in the refrigerator.
Look,
Cheese
go
Gal.
follow Cheese Gal because she's got whipped goat cheese with spiced cranberries, crispy baked boursin, and drinks. So I'm all about that.
Yeah,
Apple
so if you're
cider.
missing appetizers or drinks, go check
Yep.
out Cheese Gal because she's been doing a great.
So there's an apple when we're going to do drinks and appetizers for one episode. When we do that, there's a baked brie that I do, and I take apple juice and put apple cider spices, which there's a brand that I love that I will share, and I put raisins and walnuts in it and let the raisins plump and a little bit of bourbon and apple juice and these spices, and I pour it over a brie and bake it.
Yum.
Girl.
Sounds good.
So doing it as a full drink though sounds amazing.
Yeah, and it's a batch recipe too, so you can just have it.
Yes, so that might be what I do as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mandee,
Yeah.
this has been great. This is so informative. I really just am so thankful. You put a lot of effort into this. I typed out one recipe.
Listen, as I said, that shopping list has been saved.
Yeah.
For a million years.
So thank you for sharing that all with us.
Absolutely. I'm glad to do it. I've done a couple of years. I've tried to on my Mandee Cooks and Corona Instagram account.
Yeah.
Tried to do a play-by-play while I'm cooking, and inevitably I forget something. But
yeah. Well, hopefully you and I'm going to have a very different Thanksgiving experience, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, tell us what you're doing.
But hopefully on our Instagram feed, we can both do that this year, kind of share, especially now that everybody's going to have these lists and these recipes. I am so excited to see how it all comes together.
Tell the people what you're doing.
So, okay, this year, I lately have spent Thanksgiving. Well, I used to spend Thanksgiving with my, the evil ones family. And, anyway, so I have started doing Thanksgiving different places, but this year I decided, because my friends, the Walkers, who I spent last Thanksgiving with, do every other year, and they do their Outlaws one year, and then they all come together one year. And so this is the Outlaw year. And so I thought, well, heck, I deserve to be pampered. I haven't been on an actual vacation where I didn't have to cook for myself. I have wonderful friends who offer me their vacation houses for free, and I appreciate that so much. But I still have to clean it up, and I still have to cook for myself. So this year, I'm going to Cashers, North Carolina, to stay at a place called High Hampton. It is an Old Edwards Inn property. If you have ever heard of that part of the world in Old Edwards, they have beautiful places. This is their property that's kind of outside of town. And so there's a lake, and there are Adirondack chairs to sit out by the lake, and there are fireplaces and porches and restaurants. And I'm going to sit and let other people wait on me for several days.
I feel like you need an old-fashioned in the Adirondack chair.
Believe me, when I say I have studied the bourbon list,
Good.
I have studied the menus, which, by the way, is full of orange food that you would not like. That's what I kept thinking when I was looking at the video. I was like, ooh, this all looks delicious. Mandee would hate every bit of this.
I don't hate it. I just don't love
all pumpkin all the time. I don't know what it will look like on Thanksgiving Day, but they have a concierge who I've talked to multiple times, and I've said, look, I just want a quiet place to sit and write. I know you're writing a lot of sermons and a lot of Advent devotions while I'm up there, maybe a paper or two. I'm going to take some books that are not about Jesus and read them.
Lessons in chemistry.
Yes, that's going with me. And then a book that I'm reading that I think you would really like, and I think this group, maybe we should do it. Not that we do book club kind of stuff, but it's called The Art of Gathering. I think it's called The Art of Gathering. It's about it's not a faith-based book. It's just about gathering people together. And it's supposedly wonderful. And so I'm going to read that.
Good.
But I'm going to be waited on. And I deserve it.
Proud of you.
It's just
And
for
I'm
a couple
proud of you.
days.
I'm proud of you for making new traditions.
Yes,
I know that's not hard. I mean, I know that is hard. That's not easy.
it
Um,
is.
but you're making it into a positive,
Yes.
and yes, it gets back to sort of that what we talked about being alone.
Yes.
And it's a grown up thing to recognize that being alone on this particular holiday is what you would rather do.
Yep.
And making that happen.
And I could have gone other places.
1,000 places.
I had invitations from lovely friends, but I'm in the middle of school. I've got it's getting to the end of the semester. I'm going to be busier than a one-arm paper hanger. So I just wanted a minute to breathe.
And let that be a lesson, because I know a lot of people who listen. Well, if my friends listen, the ones that do listen,
Then they do. We have some listeners.
but the
So
ones who sometimes listen, this applies to this year, especially. There's been a lot of loss. There's been a lot of change.
yeah.
And give yourself permission to make this holiday be what it needs to be for you.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like.
And I know you've had some shifting and adjusting. You go to Nashville now or Nash Vegas. Every single Thanksgiving growing up, we went to Gogy Marsh's house, except maybe those one or two, every single year. And when that could not happen anymore, it was devastating, but it was also a chance to start fresh and start new and figure out what I for myself needed. And same with Christmas. Every Christmas Eve, we went to my dad's mother's house and we had those wonderful things and her caramel cake that I didn't learn to make. And, we don't do that anymore. And so it gives us an opportunity. And now, I have to work Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So it gives us an opportunity to start afresh and to figure out what really is meaningful to us and then do that.
Yeah.
And finding peace and serenity and having a moment to breathe is very important to me. And I don't know if that'll change once I'm out of school or not, which I don't know. Maybe in school for a long time. I'm thinking about doctoral programs already. So, I mean, call me doctor, whatever. But giving yourself grace and a moment to breathe is always a good thing. And it has been a very hard lesson for me to learn. And it's hard to say no to people that expect you to say yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is worth it for your mental health and stability and for your own personal well-being. And so I'm thrilled that I get to go by myself to this beautiful place and sit. I even told the lady, I was like, and she's very nice. Debbie is her name. And Debbie said, I said, look, I want to make sure there's going to be somewhere for me to eat on Thanksgiving Day. I don't care where it is. She was like, oh, no, we got you. And I said, look, it's just me. Put me at the bar on the far end. I will talk to the waitresses. I love doing that. That's a pro tip for all of us single gals. Sit at the end of the bar where all the wait staff hangs out, and they will keep you in stitches and you can laugh at all the other customers with them and they'll tell you who's a pain and who's not. It's so much fun. I said, or you can put me at a table in the corner. I don't care. I will be bringing my book and sitting and enjoying whatever meal and reading and just loving life. And she was like, oh no, we got you.
Well, good. I can't wait to hear what that looks like.
Yeah. And I'll
that-
post pictures too. It's a beautiful place.
yeah, but I hope everybody will take a page from Katie's
Oh, you're sweet.
book and do what you need to do for yourself, whatever that looks like. And I hope you all will have a joyful holiday.
Yes.
And we hadn't decided what we're doing next week. It'll sort of depend on how much I'm cooking.
Yeah.
As to whether we have time to record or not, but we'll let y'all know.
Absolutely. I am thankful for, first of all, for JT. Can we
Thank
just give JT another shout out? JT gets us on all the things, and we love JT. He probably doesn't listen because he thinks I don't know, he thinks I'm crazy. But so thankful for JT this year. And Mandee, you know, I've said it, but I'll say it again. I'm so thankful for you, for our friendship, for all these years, but that we've really solidified it here for all the world to see. But it's so much fun to do. It is such a great creative outlet for me, and I appreciate you very much.
Same to you, my friend, for sure. For sure. We
And
wouldn't be
I'm
doing this
thankful for
without you.
everybody. I know I'm thankful for everybody that listens too.
Yep.
Um,
Amen.
I feel like I don't know Birch, but I feel like I've made a new friend. We need
Listen,
to figure
I've got a
something out.
running list from Birch, and I think, and my friend Lee has sent a couple of requests. So we've got some subjects we need to cover for our
Yes,
listeners at some point too. So
definitely.
folks are cooking our stuff and watching our shows, and we love it. So
Yep. Love it
happy
so much.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy. We adore all of you and can't wait to see you either Thanksgiving week, if we can manage it, or after.
We will let you know. Happy
Yeah, we'll
Thanksgiving.
let you know. Keep an eye on the socials.
Gobble gobble.
Gobble, gobble. Brooker, gobble to the gobble, my girl. You gobble that shit right up. Love ya.